So welcome to Washington DC. We're at World Resources Institute and I'm with Nigel Sizer. How you doing, mate?
Very nice to meet you, sir.
Thank you. So basically you had a really important day yesterday. You launched Global Forest Watch. Could you tell us briefly what that is, please?
Absolutely. So it was a very exciting day. We had more than 300 people join us here at an event at the museum in Washington DC, and Global Forest Watch for the first time brings together high-resolution satellite data from NASA, analyzed and easy to understand, and combines that with the power of the crowd, the thousands and thousands of groups around the world, groups like yours and many, many others around the world who really care about forests, especially where they are and where they live, and allows them to put their stories and their images and testimonials into the system as well. Combines that all in one really easy-to-use online website. If you can use a Google map to find a friend's house, you can use Global Forest Watch to figure out what's happening with forests around your community, across your country, or even on the other side of the world.
That is incredible. So could you explain how the system works? How is it able to detect or monitor the trees when they're getting logged?
So there's different types of data that we're using in the system. We've got, for example, fires data. So if you open the home page and you click on the menu and you pull down, you can select the global fires data, and you'll see updated every single day data showing where fires are taking place across the entire world.
Wow.
And you can zoom in and zoom in and zoom in and see exactly where they are. We've got data coming in from the Landsat satellite program that's analyzed by Google and the University of Maryland, who are very close partners with us on this initiative. That gives you at 30-meter resolution across the entire planet, so over 200 countries, showing where trees are being lost and where they're being gained as well. So it's not just the bad news, the good news is in there as well. You can see where people are doing this well, because we want to share those stories also. That's updated every single year. That kind of information has never been available before. So this is big data, meets the forest. Hopefully this gives people information they need so they can make much, much better decisions, whether they're in companies, whether they're government officials, activists, NGOs, researchers. We were just looking at the site this morning. It's been live for 24 hours. More than 25,000 people have been on globalforestwatch.org using it during its first day, even though it's still in a beta version. We've got nearly 200 researchers discussing the data on the site, on the chat board on the site as well. So we're just incredibly excited about this.
So it's incredible. So no longer is deforestation a distant problem in a distant land. It's you're using technology to really get a handle on it. It's incredible.
That's right. I mean, you can sit in your armchair in Peterborough or San Francisco and you can help monitor forests in Kalimantan or the Amazon or Russia or Canada, or right there in your own community. I mean, we were looking at information on the system when we were preparing for the launch, and we were seeing the clearing that was taking place when supermarkets are being built in the suburbs of Washington DC.
That's incredible.
And that matters as well.
Totally. I mean, could you just touch on the technology side for us, please? I mean, we heard from Google yesterday, and we heard figures like a trillion pixels. I mean, what's the technology like on the back end that can do this?
Well, it's technology that didn't exist until now. I mean, literally, we started working on this 2 years ago. We've been building monitoring systems and working on trying to monitor forests globally going back 15, 20 years here at World Resources Institute. 2 years ago we took a fresh look and we looked at what Google were doing and what a group called Amazon in Brazil was doing, which had been very effective at the scale of the Brazilian Amazon. And we figured that we could probably try to build a global system. So we've been working on that for 2 years now, very hard with all of these partners, almost 40 organizations involved. And it's actually been a huge challenge. I mean, we are right at the cutting edge of the technology. It's a combination of enormous amounts of satellite data, which then get processed and analyzed in the Google Cloud. Thousands and thousands of computers operating in parallel so that they can analyze that data. It still takes several days to run the analyses on a multi-thousand computer parallel array. that Google are managing. And then there are algorithms that have to be applied to the data, because the raw satellite data is useless. It's extremely confusing. You have to separate out all the noise and interference in that system with very complex algorithms and statistics to pull out, okay, here there's a really high probability that trees are being lost. Here there's a really high probability that trees are being gained. And the system's looking back at the history of all the pixels in one site, looking back years and years and years at the changes and the random patterns and the seasonal patterns, and separating all that out, and then saying, oh, bang, here, this looks like a non-random change, non-seasonal change. There's rainfall data and other things involved as well. This is almost certainly forest clearing due to human activity, and up it pops as a pink pixel on the site for everyone to see. So it's a combination of the satellites, the cloud computing, and then of course now internet access, and being able to share quite large amounts of information quite quickly and at very low cost. So that's all that's been coming together, and it's literally in the last few months that we've really been able to stitch it together and make it work. It's been a struggle to get it ready to launch yesterday.
I can't even begin to imagine. So just finally, please, Nestle, we heard from those guys yesterday. So
yes.
What is the benefits of your system to them?
So the way that companies are looking at this is one of the most interesting aspects we have found. We're talking to governments, we're talking to NGOs, folks like Greenpeace, WWF are quite involved, and so on. But it's actually the conversations with the corporate world that have become the most dynamic and the most interesting. And what you have is a group of very significant companies: Nestle, Unilever, Walmart, Tesco's, and Marks and Spencer's, and companies like that in the UK. In fact, about 400 or 500 companies that are part of the Consumer Goods Forum. And they have said, we want to eliminate deforestation from the supply chains, from our suppliers, for products like palm oil and soy and beef and pulp and paper. And those raw materials go into a huge array. You know, palm oil goes into margarine, it's a key constituent in margarines, shampoos, soaps, cleaning products, cosmetics, and so on. A tremendous number of things you buy in the junk food, the processed food, it's the snacks you buy in the supermarket. There's palm oil in most of that. So it's a big deal for these companies, and they're saying, we don't want to be associated with deforestation. They've been hit hard by Greenpeace, and they've now stepped up and said, okay, we're going to get ahead of this problem. But they didn't know what they really meant by deforestation, and let alone where it was taking place. And Global Forest Watch actually gives them that information. So if they know who their suppliers are, we can actually put that on the map, literally on the map, and they can track the alerts and see where forest clearing is taking place. So they're very excited about this and very engaged with this. I will say, though, that none of them are funding the system.
Okay.
We want to keep the system independent of any influence from any side. The funding is coming in from the governments of Norway, UK, the US, and so on. And we're committed to keeping it completely independent and free from any interference.
Okay, fantastic. Well, I guess, and for any of you who are watching this, you know, as someone that lives on planet Earth, thank you so much for what you guys have done.
Thank you so much. Great to talk with you.
Thanks, Nigel.
Great.